Hello YouTube and welcome to our latest war recap video, and here we're recapping a couple of different wars, and this is probably the first of a slight change in emphasis in our war recaps, where it's a little bit more curated in terms of the war or the attacks that we show, and that was in response to some feedback during our recent clan meetup, where the conversation was essentially around a lot of people. We were showing a lot of the same style attacks because that's prevalent in the clan, and there's nothing wrong with that. And some of the 3-star attacks were working really well, and sometimes things went a bit awry, but we still got the 3 stars, which is great. But it's not so great from a learning perspective. So I guess the call out from the clan was, can you maybe change the emphasis of the recaps just to focus on the attacks that went well, where we can focus and highlight maybe elements of the attack that worked particularly well as a way to improve everyone's attacking. So let's give it a go. We'll be covering 2 different wars. I think the last war that we did a war recap on was Ibarra, so we've missed a few since then, and they were all victories. So props to everybody for the great attacking and nice high percentage destructions there. So some good wars and some good wins. I've watched pretty much every attack from most recent 2 wars and picked out a few for us to have a look at. So there's a fair few attacks to look at. We're going to start off, funnily enough, with the more recent war, with IRAN051. It just so happened that all the Town Hall 10 and 11 attacks that we wanted to see, or I thought was worth showing, were all from this war, and a lot of the Town Hall 9s are from the next war, so we'll do it in that order. Okay, so quick recap on how everyone went. So some good attacking up top with lots of 3 stars, so that's pretty cool. Props to Jenny and Nick for 2 6-star wars each, or 6-star wars each. That's pretty cool. Zimmer with a 6-star war, and some nice spread of 3 stars all throughout the clan on this war, so that's pretty cool. Let's get into the attacks. First up we have Major on number 2. This is Town Hall 11 on Town Hall 11. And Major coming in here with a couple of wall breakers up the top just to open up the wall, a hog to lure the CC, and a queen walk. So nice lure of the CC, combined with a queen walk, sends in a couple of wall breakers just to open up, and just lovely timing on the wall breakers as well, just to open up the wall, clear the path for the queen and prevent her from having to bash through a wall. In the other corner we've got a golem, a baby drag, and a few wizards, again, a couple of wall breakers again. And we'll just pause at this point, because what you can see Major's done is build a nice funnel for all of his miners. From the 2 corners, the 2 squads of troops that he sent in, has done a very nice job of clearing enough buildings that his bowlers are going to pretty much run straight into that centre compartment, and that's the key to this ring base, whether it's a Town Hall 10 or Town Hall 11, or even some variants of a Town Hall 9. It's all about building a funnel so that your main squad of troops goes into the core where you want and then breaks out at some later point. The other thing that you see as report here is all the troops that look white. That's because Major's used his Warden's ability. It does seem to be the in thing that it's always best to use that earlier in an attack than later. I think the reason for that is the earlier that you use it, the more likely it is that your troops are still bunched up, so you get the benefit of the Warden's ability over more of the troops. And you'll see here all of his bowlers there are all under protection of the Warden's ability. There's a lovely freeze at the back with great value for that freeze. There was an Inferno, there was an Expo, there was a Tesla, so he's got tons of bowlers left by the time he breaks out of that centre compartment. He's still got his queen, she's still doing a queen walk. The Warden's up, just great value. We'll fast forward a little bit here because there just isn't that much left on this base, and Major has a ton of troops left. So yeah, very nicely executed attack. Didn't even need to use the queen's ability, so nice work, Major. Okay, coming up next we will take a look at yours truly's attack here on this base. What I want to highlight on here is use of giants and the baby drag, and so the funneling. So I've used 2 giants and a bunch of wizards and their entire job is just to create that funnel. And the reason for that, if we pause, is what we needed to get done was not just to funnel the troops on the outside of the base, but also to kill the troops on the first layer on the inside, because we've taken a bunch of bowlers, and because bowlers can shoot over walls, they will be distracted by anything that's just inside a wall, and that can make them walk in directions that you don't want. And you'll actually see, even with all that effort to build a funnel, some of them still do walk around towards the, in this case it's the wizard tower, but they happen to go back because the building, one of the other buildings next to the wizard tower has been taken out, and that's enough to help them funnel. But if we just watch here, you see that group of bowlers next to the queen, and then they actually decide to kill the king and then dash back in. Yeah, it's just bowlers, you have to think about funneling kind of one layer inside the base as well as a layer outside the base. So here we've just got bowlers in the core doing what bowlers do best under rage, which is just trashing everything. There were both single infernos, and that's another reason why giants were useful here. If I'd taken golems, then they would have been absolutely roasted by the single infernos. And just as a general, giants seem to be more versatile at Town Hall 10 these days. If you're up against multi-infernos, then giants will absorb more streams from the multi-infernos, whereas a golem only absorbs one stream, which leaves the other streams to target your bowlers or other troops. We'll fast forward here a little bit because there's not too much left on this. So yeah, just some food for thought on Town Hall 10 attacks off the back of that one. Okay. Up next we have Prodigy going in with the miners. So we've got a giant which is tanking for 3 hogs, and that's a nice little strategy there. Just to let the hogs get further into the base without being damaged, because the giant was soaking up all the point defense, and he gets good value. He's got 2 point defense down for that lure, so that's quite nice. He's got his queen here. She doesn't have healers on it. It's not going to be a queen walk, but it is double poison for the CC troops, along with the queen's ability, which is enough to take the CC troops down. But what you see he's doing here is, again, he's building a nice funnel for, in this case it's miners, so he's doing a mass miner attack. It's all about funneling for these troops, and Prodigy does it very nicely indeed. Coming in on this side, the king has helped pull all of his miners into the centre. There is an inferno there, and you'll see one of the things to look for here is, okay, so we're in the core, loads and loads of miners in the core. There are 2 infernos, and Prodigy's dropped a heal spell. Normally that would be quite counterintuitive. We think, oh, inferno towers don't bother with heal spells, but if you look back to the start of the raid, there were something like 34, 35 miners in this raid. And the Inferno Towers only have 5 beams each, so that heal spell is hitting over half of his miners. And the moment the first Inferno Tower goes down, the heal spell is actually hitting all but 5 of the miners, and there's got to be something like 25 miners in that core. So it's getting great value from that heal spell. Drops a second heal spell to keep them up and alive. They are being held up a little bit by all these skeleton traps, but eventually they do beat all the skeletons in submission and then go about toasting all of the defences. And the other thing about miners is they will get healed by a heal spell whilst they're underground, because whilst they're underground, an Inferno Tower doesn't target them. So even the ones that were on the Inferno Tower get healed up whilst they're running between defences. Excuse me. So yeah, just very nicely done by Prodigy here. We'll fast forward a little bit because there's a little bit of work to do at the end here. It does slow down a little bit, but he has plenty of miners in the bag to get the job done. Just look at how many miners are running around. There's several clumps of them, so it's hard to keep track of just how many you've got, but does it beautifully. So yeah, 49 miners, so nearly 50 miners. So heal spells, if you're doing mass troop attacks, can still give you good value. Okay, who's next? Next up we have Little Sausage coming in on this base here with the bowlers. And so let's take a look. He's dropping his bowlers in here. Raid spell again. A couple of bowlers went walking because the funnel wasn't quite wide enough, but it doesn't matter. Most of the bowlers went into the core, and that's all that counts. Dragon's causing him a little bit of grief here, but it was a nice funnel on the bulk of the bowlers to get them into the core. And at this point, there's enough down that the hero is going to be able to run through and clean up the rest of the troops and the defences and get us the 3-star. So nice attack, LS. Again, golem up. Possibly might have got a bit more utility out of some giants because the healers do tend to focus on golems a little bit, but it doesn't matter in that raid. Very nicely done indeed. And swagged an archer. But yeah, nice attack. Okay, up next we've got Jamison. Don't normally advocate using earthquakes, but Jamison's choice of placement of earthquake on his base I thought was very nice. We'll just fast forward a little bit. It's the first thing that he does, and he opens it up. The reason why it works well on this base is 2 reasons. One is the shape of some of these compartments, and the placement that he's made means that with that with the earthquake spell, he's opened up pretty much 3/4 of this base. So that works out very nicely for him. Gives his Valkyries lots of room to run around in multiple different groups. He's just building a little bit of a funnel here. Again, a couple of golems. It is worth thinking about if you are taking golems, how many you really need. So he's done a very nice job building his funnel at this point, dropping all of his Valkyries, and they're all into the core. And at this point, his Valkyries have overtaken his golems. So the golems aren't actually tanking that much, as in saving his Valkyries from many defences because they've run so far ahead. So could have possibly got away with 1 golem instead of 2, and that might have left you with, I don't know, 6 hogs or maybe a few more Valkyries, who knows, or balloons or whatever it happens to be, or maybe a couple of healers for your queen, whatever it is. Just worth thinking about, but Jamison does it very nicely here. Got tons of Valkyries left, and that's testament to the earthquake placement that he did because it gave his Valkyries free reign to run in and get all those defences down very quickly. So nice attack, Jamison. Okay, 1 more from this war, and then we'll switch wars, and that is Minor Major coming in on this base here, which is kind of a Town Hall 9 ring base design. A couple of things I thought Minor did very nicely here. So they just dropped a single hog to get the lure. That archer tower is nicely placed in the corner there because it's just close enough to that corner builder's hut to pose a problem for barbarians, but not for archers. So he drops an archer down instead, gets the lure, brings the dragon and the balloons over, a couple of wizards and a couple of archers to kill the CC. But here's the nice thing. Nice use of baby dragon to help kill the CC dragon, but also then get double duty out of that baby dragon because it's helped build part of the funnel that's going to stop his Valkyries wandering around the outside of the base. So really nice choice of troop. This Major didn't bother with wall breakers in this attack because there are no buildings on the outside of the wall, so the Valkyries are only going to bash into the wall. And because he's built that mini funnel with his baby dragon, it also means he doesn't need wall breakers for the next wall, and that means he hasn't had to bring a jump spell to get into the core into this ring part of the base, because he knows his Valkyries are going to beat through that wall anyway, and that's exactly what happens next. They take out these few defences, bash straight into the wall, through the wall. Lovely jump spell placement here to let a few of his Valks into the core and take out the 2 Expos and Queen, and the rest of the Valkyries are just going to run around the base with heal spells, keep them all nice and healthy. So lovely setup. It's a bit of a mass Valk attack, but it was the setup here that I thought was absolutely superb. Did everything to ensure that his Valks went exactly where he wanted to, so that was very nicely done. So we will switch wars, if I can work out how to do that. No, we might have to do it old school style. Okay. That's kind of interesting. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's go on to BHR Warriors. Take a quick look at this war and how we did. So lovely hits from Major to 2 triples on Town Hall 10s. So 6-star war there, that's superb. Jenny again with a 6-star war, that's pretty cool. Andrew with a 6-star war. So some lovely attacking. Geek with a 6-star war. Smoosh so close to a 6-star with that 93-99. And some nice scouts and so forth at the bottom. There was one person who didn't use both attacks. That's a bit of a scandal. Apologies for that. That's just kind of wife problems, I suppose. But let's check out some of the attacks. We won't be looking at Major's lovely 3-stars because they are dip attacks, and we'll be focusing on Town Hall versus the same Town Hall attack. So apologies if anyone's disappointed with their dip attacks not being shown. But let's focus on getting our attack quality against similar level Town Halls up. Okay, so this is Andrew coming in this base here. What I wanted to focus on here is what I thought Andrew did really, really well is build his funnel. What he wants to do is he's brought a few Valks and some bowlers in the CC, and he wants to get all those into the core of the base where the expos are. And you see the design of this base is almost designed to make that difficult to do because of all these corner compartments that stick out a long way that makes it difficult to funnel troops into that core, which is sort of recessed a little bit in the centre. So what Andrew does here is he drops 2 golems, a bunch of wizards. They're all working on the outer compartments to the sides of the centre, just to clear those 2 sides as much as he can. Now he's got his funnel built, nice jump spell, actually gets one of his golems to reroute, drops his Valkyries down, drops his bowlers down, and if we pause at this point, there's absolutely nowhere for his bowlers to go other than through that jump spell because of the investment that he made in building the funnel. And that's what funneling's all about. You have to be willing to spend enough troops to get the job done that you need. So his bowlers come in, join his Valkyries in the core, and that combination is just absolutely lethal. Rage and heal, there's hogs coming in, there's just troops everywhere, just really nicely executed attack. It's all the reason why this all looks like it's so effortless is the planning and troops invested in getting the funnel. Once you've got your troops where you want them to be, the rest of it just kind of happens. So that was very nicely done indeed, Andrew. Superb. Okay. Up next, let's take a look at Mighty Banger coming in on this base here. Again, Giant down just to get the CC lure. Giant's a good choice rather than a hog because there is a lot of small troops and Giant has more hit points if you know it's going to be in range. So we'll fast forward as he gets through the CC lure placement. Just nice placement of troops to ensure that all those troops do stay in the poison spells. And again, this is all about making a sufficiently large investment to build the funnel. So he wants his Valks to go into the core of the base, and he has brought wall breakers, but I think he had a little bit of a wall breaker fail here. But because he invested enough troops in building the funnel, his Valks don't have anywhere else to go other than into the base anyway. So he actually gets the funnel, gets his Valks into the core purely by virtue of having built a wide enough funnel. So that's sensational. Very, very nicely done indeed. And if you do that, you can actually you don't need to worry about bringing the wall breakers. Again, golems kind of get left behind a little bit by Valkyries because Valkyries are so fast, but they do rejoin the action here and start to absorb a bit of punishment from these last few point defences, which just makes it a little bit easier for his Valkyries. But he's got plenty of troops left. He's still got his Queen's ability up. There's only a couple of builders' huts left, one in each corner, and the Queen is easily going to win that race and gets the 3-star. So nicely done, Mighty Banger. Nice piece of funnel. Okay, and up next we've got God's Gift with more Valkyrie funneling, but here there's a little bit of a twist. So a couple of hogs aiming to get the lure, only get to part of the lure. Probably was fresh hit, so you're not quite sure what's in the CC. Normally to nice use of a Valkyrie to deal with all these small troops, so that was quite good. Enjoyed that. A couple more hogs, gets what he really wanted out of the CC, which is the wizards and balloons. Drops an archer down, has a second poison for them at the ready. So sorry, we'll do this on 2 times, and then kicks off with his main attack. So what he's doing here is he is building his funnel, and what we like at this point is built a wide enough funnel for his Valks that there's only one place they're going to go, which is very nice. But the thing that I thought Gods did extremely nicely here is the timing and placement on that jump spell there. The moment his Valks got into that compartment, he dropped the jump spell, and he's dropped it in such a way that it's going to open up 4 different compartments to his Valkyries, which is great. So they're going to get access to that mortar, the air defense and Archer Queen altar, where the king is, and also where the town hall and the expos are, all from that one jump spell. So he's got great value out of that jump spell, and it's only cost him 1 spell slot, which is pretty good. That's left him with 3 other spells, so he's got an early heal for his Valks just to keep them alive. If he'd waited, half a second later, and if that Archer Tower, when the Archer Tower goes down, if there wasn't a jump spell, his Valkyries could have gone anywhere. They might have gone outside the base, they might have beat through a side wall, or they may have gone where he was planning. But by dropping the jump spell whilst there's still other buildings in the base, or in the compartment where the Valks are, it guarantees that when that Archer Tower does go down, the Valkyries will see the jump spell and take it into account in terms of what's closest. And what happens to be closest is everything that's over that jump spell. So all of his Valkyries go where he wants them to. And that was really the key for me for this raid. Everything else that happens from here on is all a result of that early funneling. See, some of his Valkyries even break out here. That happens, they're just a bit fickle, but the key was, before that happened, he'd gutted the core of the base. The last thing you want to do is to rely on, hopefully, the Valkyries bashing through the right wall before you've caught the base, and then have them all break out the wrong wall, run around the outside, whilst both expos are slowly whittling them down in health. So yeah, very nicely done by Gods here, and it shows in the result because he has an absolute ton of troops left. Very nicely done. So superb. Okay, just a couple more. We've got Minor Major coming in on this attack here. Again, a couple of hogs, and to get the lure, sorry, keep feeling press the ×2 speed. I wish there was an auto default for that. That would be nice. Well, kind of dealing with the CC, nice double poison spell placement here. Golem is down, slight delay on the wizards, but there was plenty of other things to do. A line of wall breakers opens the base up nicely, and all of his Valks go in, which is quite nice. And you'll see again Major's lovely early placement on the jump spell. That again, it's opened up several compartments to his Valkyries, but more importantly, it's guaranteeing that his Valkyries won't do something silly, or at least doesn't ever guarantee it with Valks. You never know with those redhead wild ladies with axes where they'll actually go, but it increases the chance that they will go where you want rather than where they feel like going. But also the way where it's placed the jump spell gives the Valkyries access to most of the base with 1 spell. So they've got access to where the Queen's altar is, where the King's altar is in that next compartment along, but also where the town hall is and one of the compartments where the expos are. So they've got plenty to be getting on with just from that 1 spell. And as you can see, they do take advantage of all of that. Some of them end up beating through a wall anyway, even though the jump spell is there. But no matter, you see them go back and make use of that jump spell there. And this is a good advertisement for why use jump spell. So the jump spell is only just worn off. And look at how far through the base the Valkyries are. So there's, Major could have used Earthquakes and done the same thing. But what would be the benefit? There's nothing left for them to run back through that space to go and get. So there's no reason, there's no need to use Earthquakes in these types of bases. Or in many bases, you actually get better value out of a jump spell, because then you can bring an extra spell, which means an extra heal or a rage, and that just keeps your Valks alive or angrier for longer, and that's always a good thing. You've got to like redheads when they're angry. Alrighty, so Major's just finishing off the last few troops, last few buildings here. He's got plenty of Valkyries up. He's got both heroes. The king does just go down, but by that stage it's way too late. Comes in, finishes off the last building and gets the triple. Okay, so we've got one more for you guys. We've done lots of ground-based attacks. I thought we would do one air-based attack and talk about Pentalaloon. Who else talk about Pentalaloon then with Geek? And what I thought we would talk about here is what to look for. So the thing, why come in on this, there's 4 air defences here, and why choose Pentalaloon for this base rather than some other attack? What makes this base suitable? And there's a couple of things. One is you'll see this air defence isn't in range of any other air defences. So the air defences aren't overlapping, and that's important because if the air defences overlap on a base, it means that multiple air defences will be shooting your lava hounds, and that's a bad thing. They'll pop very quickly, and you'll find that at the back end of the base you haven't got any coverage for the air defences and your balloons will go down. So it's key that the air defences don't overlap, and you'll see here none of these air defences are in range of any other air defences, so that's important. The other thing that's important is placement of the other defences. One of the nice things about this base, if we look at this air defence here, is that archer tower can see it and will shoot at it. That archer tower can see it. That wizard tower, the wizard towers are key. People often leave them a long way away from air defences. Even this expo, which is set to ground and air, is in range of that top air defence. And what that means is when these 3 lava hounds that have been dropped in are sat on top of that air defence, all those defences will be shooting at the lava hounds, which means that the balloons that come in next will be safe. If there were archer towers that are set a long way away from these air defences, but still, if this wizard tower here, for instance, was an archer tower, then it's possible, or if this was an archer tower, it's possible that it would be in range of some of the other things, and it might shoot your balloons, but it wouldn't be in range. It wouldn't be able to see this air defence here, and that would mean that your balloons could be shot. It could be shot without any coverage. So it's key to work out where, when your lava hounds are sat on top of an air defence, what they're going to be giving protection from. The other reason that Geek came in on this particular air defence, why not come in from, say, close to the Archer Queen, is the placement of the air sweepers, which are a bit of a pain for your balloons. So this air sweeper here, you see, covers the lower air defence, but it doesn't quite cover the top air defence, and it doesn't cover really that arch tower very well either. But if you look at where the other air sweeper covers, it's got good coverage over both air defences. So if you come in on this side, all of your troops will be pushing against that sweeper, and that just makes it that much harder for your troops. So by coming in on this top air defence, it means that 2 things happen. One is it's an easier path into that first air defence, so you get one down easy. But once that air defence has gone down, where are the balloons going to pass to next? Well, maybe here, but probably also here. And now one of the sweepers have gone down, which makes the rest of it that much easier, and so on and so forth. So we'll watch as, again, just 2 balloons on each air defence, drop a rage pretty much on top of each air defence. So it's 3 hounds on one air defence and 2 hounds on another, and just dropping the balloons in pairs, 2 at a time with the rages. And you see, you can more or less ignore the queen, because what kills the queen are the pups. There's so many pups when you've got this many hounds, and whilst the pups don't do a lot of damage individually, there's quite a lot of them. The queen tends to focus on shooting hounds rather than pups, so whilst she's busy shooting at the hounds, the pups will be killing her. Works out quite nicely, and it's all just clean up at this point. The rest of it, once you've got the knack of dropping your balloons 2 at a time, the rest of it's just history. So that's a little short squeeze on Pentalaloon. So that's our war recap. Some nice victories for everybody. Nice high percentages. Some good 3 stars. See you on the next one. In the meantime, stay tuned and clash on, and let me know what you think of the new format. Peace.